Good evening and welcome to the Municipality of Monroeville's Citizens Night and Agenda Setting Meeting for October 3rd, 2019. It is approximately 7:03 p.m. If we'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All members of council are in attendance this evening. Before we get into our Citizens Night, our comment period, just a brief announcement, something we've been talking about for a little bit. The flooding that occurred in the Logan's Ferry area, there's a few other regions, and there was a meeting that is going to be scheduled. Just want to let you know that the residents of those areas, we are still scheduling this meeting. These things take more time than what they should, but we're waiting for some feedback from some state agencies. Our engineering department has been working on it. Our outside engineering department's been working on some scenarios as well, and we just want to make sure we're gathering all this information before we have this meeting. Mr. Harvey's been working pretty hard on this, and we just want to let everybody know, all those residents, that the meeting is going to happen. Everyone will be notified before that meeting does occur, and we'll get that scheduled as soon as possible. So I just want to let everybody know where that stood. We're going to move to our Citizens Night comments. This is your time in the municipality to address council. This is a comment period. We always ask for a 5-minute time limit on your comments. We feel that's an efficient time for you to get your point across. I will indicate to you whenever you have 1 minute left, and then we ask that you wrap up your comments at that point. This is your chance to speak about any municipal item. At our voting meeting on next Tuesday, the 8th, you will have another opportunity to address council prior to any vote on the agenda items. At the end of that same meeting, you would have another opportunity to speak about any municipal item. So just to clarify, tonight is not a voting meeting. There are no votes that are taken this evening, no action that is taken by council. This is your chance to address council and to comment. And it's also council's chance to set the agenda and make sure everything's ready for Tuesday when we do vote on the 8th. Okay? If there's any questions during your comment period, or even during the comments as well, I ask council just not to please get in any debates, and please let all the residents get all their comments across. If there are any questions that we are able to answer, we will do so at the end of the comment period. That's a way to kind of get the meeting moving forward in an efficient manner. Okay? So if anyone has signed in, I'm not sure if anyone has. Nicole has, she knows that, and she's coming up, so Nicole can go first. And you certainly will have an opportunity to sign in at any time. I will give people plenty of notice and opportunities to speak this evening, so if you didn't sign in yet, don't rush and don't worry about it. You'll have a chance if you want to speak or if you change your mind and you want to speak later. So, Nicole Henline, I'm sorry, if you just state your name for the record.
Nicole Henline, Director and resident of the library and resident of Monroeville. As always, thank you for your support of the library, and I would like to thank all community members who donated or attended fundraisers in the month of September. It was part of the prorated match from the Buncher Foundation, and it was a wonderful month. We had 73 people at Trivia Night that the Friends organized, so we're very excited about that. A few things coming up. Author and Pitt School of Law librarian Linda Tashbook will talk about her book Family Guide to Mental Illness and the Law. Saturday, October 19th, the Garden Club of Monroeville and Boyce Park Naturalist will show us how to save and store seeds from flowers, herbs, and vegetables. And for the whole family, our 6th annual Star Party will be held Saturday, October 12th from 7 to 9, and that's at Beechwood Park, and there is a rain date, so make sure to call the library to double check that it's happening on that date and not the rain date. We're having a tween Halloween party on October 18th. Trick or treat at the library October 31st from 4 to 8. And look for us at several community Halloween celebrations, including Trail of Treats, Halloween at the Mall, and Crossroads Trunk or Treat. And we're looking forward to new programs and classes in the Makerspace this November, so stay tuned for more information on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
David Mintz.
All All right, good evening. David Mintz, resident of Monroeville. Hi. I have several things to talk about. My first one was a couple days ago, Mr. Little and I spoke on the phone. I was just calling him to get an update on any progress on the updated gas and oil ordinance that we submitted last month. It's been a month. And I think it's pretty important. I just wanted to ask, from our conversation, my understanding is that there was no work or progress or no staff work looking at or working on the ordinance we turned in. And when I say staff, from when would we talk to that would be Mr. Little, Mr. Ratcher, of course, Mr. Weldon, and Mr. Hughes from our conversation. And in order for that to progress, in order for that to start, we had a conversation about it, is that there would have to be as it was described to me by Mr. Little, an informal consensus from the council for Mr. Little to begin his staff to work on it, to look at it. I don't think we ever quite, it sounds, because it's informal, is there, does it need to be one person that's championing it? Does it need to be the mayor plus a certain number of council people? Does it need to be 4 out of 7? There was it's just an informal consensus. So I guess my first request would be, as we spoke about it, Mr. Little, when I asked, is there any progress and how long do you think, the whole thing might take? And the fact that it hasn't been started means that, as Mr. Little told me, it said, well, it could take 3 months or it could take 3 years. Now, we've been talking about this for several years, as you know, me coming up every month for most of that time. So I'd hate to see it, go out for 3 years. But I know that was just a, estimate. But I guess what I'm asking, first of all, is is there anybody on council that will champion this, including the Mr. Mayor? Could somebody, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to all 7 of you plus the mayor, talk to Mr. Little and say, well, I think this is important enough for the staff, the 4 people that I mentioned, including Mr. Little, to start looking at this, going over it, having questions about it. My understanding is you have to look at it, and then you have to do that, and then it goes to the Planning Commission, then it comes back to the council. But right now, it's just sitting there. Nothing's happening yet because council hasn't given the informal consensus to start. So my first question is, would that please start, or could somebody do that? Give Mr. Little the idea that, that it's important enough that we should be working on that. I guess that's my first point, and I guess you answer after I'm done with both my points, kind of thing, right? Okay. My second point is actually on the pool issue. Actually, I just had 2 points to make on that because I also spoke to Mr. Little briefly about it, and after we spoke, I did get access to a 97-page document that was released with a lot of letters and information based on a right-to-know request about the pool. And I just wanted to make 2 points from when I read through all these pages. And I'm sure everybody in the council knows this, but I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to say a few things for everybody in the audience. One was from a letter May 15th of 2018 to Mr. Little from John Romano, the right-of-way administrator for the Pennsylvania Turnpike. And in that letter, he stresses, it says, please note that your property has not been condemned, and you and or your tenants are not required to move from the premises. But, of course, that was May 15th of 2018. I just wanted to point that out. And one other thing I just wanted to point out on page 40 of the 97 pages that I thought was interesting, just on the immediacy of what has to be done with the pool issue, whether it needs to be voted on, in the upcoming Tuesday meeting. I understand that Monroeville, according to these letters, did request the Turnpike Commission that if Monroeville did sell the land, if Monroeville could lease it back for $1 a year in 2019 and 2020, but the Turnpike Commission turned that down because of potential liabilities they didn't want to take on, and I understand that. But they also mentioned in the same letter, and I'm talking about a letter from Tuesday, November 20th, 2018. This was to Mr. Little from Charles Brannigan. He is the consultant project manager of the Interstate Acquisition Services, a division of Century Engineers, Inc. The other point he made in this letter was that if Monroeville did decide to operate, 1 minute, okay.
Less than.
All right. The pool in 2019, as we did, they would still, the offer that they're making, the amount of money would still be, valid, as we all know. But if Monroeville did decide to run the pool in 2020, it says, should the municipality desire to continue operation of the pool through 2020, the Turnpike Commission will reserve the right to determine if the current valuation is still reflective of the condition of the pool at the end of 2020. This may result in a revised appraisal report and offer. And I understand that's what's been referenced, that if it's sold after the end of this year, that Monroeville might get less money because the pool has been used and the equipment's been used. I'm not sure if they ever intend on reusing that material, or if it's just an idea of how much they should pay us because the material has depreciation on it, that kind of thing. But to me, the point there is that they obviously don't need the pool yet in 2020, and if the representatives of the pool feel it, I kind of leave it up to them. If they feel that it's important enough to run the pool at least one more year through Monroeville and possibly have less money, maybe they can make that point or what they think about that to Monroeville. But I just want to make it clear that it's not like they condemned it and want to take it right now. It's just they might give a little bit less money based on depreciation. So,
Thank you.
So those are my 2 points.
Thank you, David.
Okay, well, I'll stop talking, but is there any...
Your 5 minutes.
Oh, I understand, yeah. But, I mean, can somebody answer my...
Let's get through all the comments, and if we can answer questions, we'll do so at the end of the comment period.
of everybody's comments?
We have people here, yeah. I want to get everybody to get their
Yeah.
comments into the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
And I don't have anyone in front of me as far as sign up. If someone else would like to address council on any municipal item, sir, if you could just sign in and then state your name for the record, please.
My name's Bob Williams. I am a Monroeville resident. And Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, ladies and gentlemen of council, I want to address item number 4 on your agenda, an ordinance of Municipality of Monroeville amended ordinance number 2329 to eliminate imprisonment as a penalty for non-payment of business taxes or other violations of the provision of ordinance number 2329. My question is, why would we want to take the teeth out of the law? You know, these people that don't want to pay their business privilege tax, it seems like imprisonment would be the last resort in a good way to cause them to come forward and pay their taxes to keep from being in prison. So that's the only thing I wanted to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Anyone else like to address council?
I have a question first before my time starts.
If you could just state your name for the record.
Yes, I'm Barbara Spann. I'm Miles Spann's daughter. As many of you know,
And you're a Monroeville resident?
I am a Monroeville 4th Ward homeowner and resident.
Welcome.
Part-time resident. Thank you. But my question before my time starts is, if you put something down for the camera, where do I put it on?
Actually, where your laptop is,
Where your laptop is.
there's a sticker, right? There's a little X
See
with
the
tape.
X?
I do see the X. Is this off? Oh, I see. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, as some of you know, former Councilman Miles Spann died in these very council chambers a number of years ago. It's true, though, prior to that, he was responsible for securing the private grants to originally operate and make capital improvements for Bel Air, the pool, the park, the recreation center. And as he always said, it's for the kids. As you can see with everything I've put down here, decades of support. I'm the one in the picture. Bulldog Spann gets his way, kids get the pool. This was intended for the community. In a letter to the Turnpike Commission in 2018, though, you stated you wanted to memorialize Bel Air. You did, Mr. Little, I believe, and memorializing it is a good place to start. Miles Spann personally secured hundreds of thousands of dollars in private and nonprofit grants through the Escape Foundation and others for the betterment of Monroeville's family and children. In today's market, this privately generated funding would have a value of $1.7 to $2 million. That is no small change in support of Monroeville that he alone acquired. In alignment with the mission of the donors, with the donors and foundations, it supported programs like Camp Chippewa, midget football. It purchased the Jaws of Life, which is used by the fire department to pry open cars in accidents, saving lives every day. And the grants were catalyst for the first outdoor public skating rink, which was in Monroeville Park, I understand since taken out, and for the Senior Citizens Center, for many of our parks, and of course Bel Air. Don't just take my word for it. Here are some quotes. Few of us who know Mary Lou and Miles Spann know that besides foundation money, they've given thousands of their own money to the needy in Monroeville programs. Miles is a man who's helped people his whole life. That's from Jack Spielman. The Spanns are concerned about meeting and supporting needs that serve the interests of Monroeville residents, especially his efforts with the Scaife Foundation. That's from Marshall Bond. Miles Spann gained nothing from this. His name is on nothing. No streets, no parks, not even Bel Air. But still, like anything where money comes into the municipality, it wasn't without controversy. There was a lot of argument over when and where and in what ward it should be spent, despite the original intent of the donors. And that's not unlike the controversy that's happening with Bel Air today. So when this controversy first came out, I looked into the facts. The fact is the Turnpike Commission provided preliminary engineering maps on the expansion, and this is the one to which I'm specifically referring, in 2015. That was 4 years ago. Now, I know that some of you mentioned, Mr. Harvey, that you all have a close working relationship, that there are meetings regularly held with municipal officials in our municipality and others. You've gone to every one of those, and at each one they have colored overhead pictorials with colored lines that show the affected areas. 5 citizens filed right-to-know requests under the law with the municipality to get copies of the information since 2015, including these maps. Yet providing those maps was refused. Also, 2.5 years of data from 2015 through mid-2018 was refused. And you're entering in a sale agreement when the real property value isn't known. I know you've done an independent appraisal, and I know the Turnpike Commission is offering $956,000. Allegheny County assesses the tax value at $996, so it's pretty much in line with the assessed value were it in private hands. But everyone in Pennsylvania knows that property value is based also on the gas and mineral rights underneath. Mr. Ratcher worked for the energy company that developed the plan in Penn adjacent to Bel Air to drill under, so certainly he knows the mineral rights and who owns them. I'm really shocked that you don't. That's part of the value. Also, the municipality discussed the sale of the property 2 years ago. It was documented and reached an agreement in principle on the terms with the Turnpike Commission in 2018, but didn't tell the community until 2019. So 2 years after the discussions took place for the terms of this, which are documented, and more than a year after the agreement in principle, there's no plan to honor the original intent of these private grants and serve the community moving forward. So I like to wrap up by saying there is a mechanism by which if you are still planning on voting for this ordinance on Tuesday, there is a mechanism by which you can entrench the funds, the full funds of the sale of Bel Air and the other assets, the other $62,000, into a separate account designated purely for the originally intended use for the community, for the kids. I see some swimmers here today. Go. I used to swim at Bel Air too many years ago. I'm almost 60 now, but that was a long time ago. There is a mechanism that you have. So before next Tuesday, change the ordinance, add to it, and make sure that money is safely escrowed for the specific purpose, whether it's for building a pool at Monroeville Park or whether it is to designate it with full public access to the 3,000 people that buy daily passes each season to private pools. Designate it, protect it, put it in escrow so it can't be touched for any purpose other than the original intent. Thank you. Thank you.
If you could just sign your name.
My
And
name
then-
is Paige Wienand,
Thank you.
and I live in Cottage Lane.
Welcome.
So, sorry if I'm a little shaky. This is taking like all my courage just to come up here. But I'm a Bel Air swimmer, like I said when I was here before. But Bel Air, like the swim team, the community, it's just like a giant family to everyone. And I don't know if I'm like exaggerating a little bit, but like in a family, if you're losing someone, you know that's gonna be sad. And I know you're not voting on the pool just yet, but like if you're selling the pool, that means you're taking away the whole family that we have. And you know that you might never contact your family again, and that it's just gonna be sad for you. So it will be hard on me, a bunch of my swim teams, and our whole community. Thank you. That's all.
Your point was very well made.
Yes.
Perfect. If anyone else would like to address council?
I'm Matt Wienand. I'm Paige's father. Very proud of her. Also from Cottage Lane. Unfortunately, I have not been able to attend work schedules and whatnot, so this is a good opportunity for me to first off, kind of put my 2 cents in. And that being said, I feel like just in following the discussions that have been going on, I know we tabled it and it miraculously just popped back into the agenda with little information, little than more information than what we had previously. And I think most of us here, that's the question mainly on our mind is what are we doing? What are you doing for our community with this? I mean, I think meeting after meeting, we're standing up here, we're bringing this to you, we're addressing this situation, but it's at the same time, I don't feel like we're getting any answers. So, tonight, hopefully, I think that we can, hope to get something out of that. But at the same time, too, it's about our kids, I see my daughter up here, and I see a lot of these kids come up, and they're convicted to tell, you guys their side of it. It's not an easy thing for them. It's not an easy thing for them to have that potential for loss. And too often I feel like it's all about the money, and when we're talking about budgets and we're talking about budget cuts, it seems like it's the children's programs that we lose out on the quickest or the easiest to cut. I hope that's not the case, when you guys sit and have your meeting. But, as your constituency, we look to you guys to represent us, not represent your own agendas or represent a financial agenda solely. I get it, right? We have a financial, agenda that we have to maintain to stay afloat as a community. But at the same time, there's got to be other opportunities, other ways that we can find these funds, or, as Ms. Spann said, find these funds to at least keep with our community programs. I would hate, and again, not having the answers, we don't know where this money's going. I would like to kind of get some closure onto what the potential is for this. If the sale is impending and there's nothing we can do about it, we at least want to know what the outcome or the planning is. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you.